can tell back here. He's recording now.
Now you may talk gin and beer when your quarter's safe out here and you're sent to penny fights and all about it. But when it comes to slaughter, you'll do your work on water and you'll lick the bloomin' boots of him what's got it.
Yeah. Those levels are fine.
Back in the 80s, I was up in Fayette fishing trout out at Grannis Hollow. And I was standing down by the second bridge. It just come up from the creek. And a guy comes along in a brand new car and pulls up behind me. And he gets out and asks me how the fishing was. And he's all dressed in a sort of fancy fisherman's garb. And I think he had a Lynn license, Lynn County. And having grown up in Fayette, I felt kind of possessive. I felt like this guy was an intruder. And I got quite a surprise in the course of our conversation. And I came home and I wrote a poem about it called Home Ground. And it goes like this. After agreeing, he and I, that caution was the way of trout, at least this day, and noting neither worm nor fly would coax them out from fallen trees or mossy rocks, the stranger and I extinguished talk and stood, thinking nothing at all, letting silence, shade, and summer breeze take time and hold it still. But when a bird flew, time and talk took up again, and the stranger in fishing clothes asked, "You from here?" I nodded, intending, I suppose, to let him know the woods here were mine more than his. He leant his fishing rod against his fancy car, pointed to a spot below the bluff, and said, "I was born there 40 years ago. There's where the cabin stood." Where his finger aimed, an old foundation crumbled in the wood. With this, I understood why he journeyed here, not for trout, of course, but to test time's divorce from what he was, and now he is. And when he drove away and the dust and quiet settled with his engine's fading hum, I wondered what he'd left behind and how many miles he'd come. A lot of times when working with kids, giving them a writing assignment, I would do the writing assignment myself just to see, well, in part to let them see that all writers have troubles and make mistakes and so forth and so on. But I always wanted to see what would come out of it. And one time we were, I suppose it was around Halloween, we were going to write a scary poem. And the assignment was, for the kids, the 8th graders, was to write a poem that will scare the snot out of a 3rd grader. This is one I wrote when the kids were doing theirs. It's called Grandma's House, the Room Upstairs. It goes like this. What is that sound tonight in the ceiling? Here in my bed I have an uneasy feeling, because nothing should be in the rafters up there. Nothing should be up there. Why won't the bulb in my night lamp light? The moon through the window is not very bright. Not at all bright. Was that a whisper over there in the corner? Grandma can't hear. Perhaps I should warn her. Yes, I better warn her. What is that shape blocking my door, floating in air and not touching the floor? It's not touching the floor. Now it has vanished, and nothing is there except for the smell that now taints the air, this moldy odor tainting the air. And here's another one. One day I was walking to school and it rained to beat the band the night before, and all over the parking lot in the back were night crawlers. Come out, I suppose, to keep from drowning. In any case, it put an idea in my head, and it came out like this. It says, when it rains, the crawlers come out. A poem to be read in a whisper. Above the rain clouds on the night side of earth, ancient stars keep their secrets. Below, where the raindrops end on silent streets and houses, earth beings sleep safely. Not one sees the spinning lights, not one hears the swish